All who live yearn for equality, but unless the gods prostrate themselves and profess that they are mere servants of the living, equality can never exist.
At the time of writing this, I just got finished playing Act 7 a couple of hours ago, and I'm already brimming with so much excitement. This is my favorite act so far. But once again, I am overwhelmed by what I want to talk about, so I've broken this whole video up into 6 chapters. Starting with Dottoro's Northern Research Lab, which, funnily enough, is the most amount of combat we'll be seeing this entire quest. Now, I don't know whether it is because this was my first 1440p stream with Genshin Impact being upscaled to that resolution, that exploring Dottoro's Northern Research Lab was such a cool experience. Seeing the amount of clutter spread all throughout the lab, cool atmospheric effects, a story that felt like it was being told without words, which I felt like lacked in a lot of Genshin story domains. All this leading to an impossible fight against Dottoro that I was absolutely loving the hell out of, because the Traveler gets captured, and now we have to go through multiple story perspectives with the Traveler and Dottoro, Columbina, and the Nordkrai crew. Now, the Nordkrai crew had a lot of different stories going on, but there were 2 that I really wanted to talk about. The first being Albedo, Durin, and the Wanderer's investigation into Dottoro's energy fields. I appreciated that we don't know much about these energy fields, but also at the same time, the game told us about these energy fields and how we needed to evacuate people. But we weren't shown what these energy fields looked like until like 4 hours into a 5-hour quest. So the stress and tension just wasn't building for these threats of the energy fields, which was exactly the opposite feeling when it came to the wild hunt during the beginning acts of Nordkrai. That being said, once we entered one of these energy fields, oh boy, now the tension is here. These are basically mini experimental enclosures. The one that we got to explore in the game was an experiment on swapping human and animal minds. This was such a creepy and gross experiment, because it was a place full of dead bodies with animals idly standing next to their human bodies. I wish that we got to see the other 2 energy fields and what those experiments were, because I'm sure they would be just as horrifying. The other story I wanted to focus on from Nordkrai's crew is the Sandrone research. If you need someone to act it out, go check out my streams where I acted out each of these books. There was so much fantastic lore. There were quite a few books about Elaine research that I really enjoyed, because as we hear more about it, it appears that these prime energy machines that Elaine is researching into are secret source machines. He specifically points out that this kind of machine seems to take arbitrary external forms. Now, originally when I was streaming this, I was thinking of the Tenebrous Miniflower, but that's actually an abyss creature and not secret source. But as I looked deeper, he was most likely referring to the configuration device. And why I found this so fascinating is because it seems like they were getting closer to creating the Huitzilopochtli than I thought. When I first played through the Narsissenkreutz's World Quest, I don't think I was paying enough attention to realize how dangerous of research the Narsissenkreuz Ordo was performing until now, after playing through the Natlan World Quest. Another few bits of lore that I really love was Renee's lectures. Renee sounds just like Dottoro, and funnily enough, Dottoro mentions that someone voiced a similar idea in the Academia editorial. So it honestly isn't a long shot for him to have read a Renee lecture or listened to someone who was inspired by Renee. I mean, even the point where Renee saved Yakov from an incurable disease and attempted to do the same for Carter is very reminiscent of Dottoro's Elazar research. The last book I wanted to talk about is The Time Trekker. I had such a blast reading this because regardless of whether this is fiction or not, which if I've learned anything from Genshin books, they are mostly real with storytelling fluff. The purpose of this book to me was to understand how time in Genshin works, which is that there is no past, present, or future. They are all happen simultaneously, which is why present day Columbina can affect things in the past. This then leads to like some incredible revelations when we learn that Columbina has been interacting with the Traveler in the past and was the one who pulled her own death card during the tarot card reading. I also love that Columbina left a message for us on the wall in the past to alert us in the future. And the fact that she created Luanatar from her own soul is awesome. I'm a huge fan of time traveling stories, so look, I was all in on this time traveling journey with Columbina. That being said, Columbina cannot move forward in time, so I'm curious how she'll get back to us. Like, will Luanatar help free the Traveler? Because this entire time, the Traveler was captured by Dottore, and it actually led to some of my favorite conversations in this quest, because Dottore is such a wonderfully engaging villain. He keeps the Traveler alive because he sees potential in having a Descender by his side as he creates this new world. And I'll be honest, I'm not entirely clear why he actually needs us. Maybe he knows that the Heavenly Principles is a Descender, thereby having a Descender by his side is a necessary step to godhood. Maybe he sees the Traveler as a threat and would much rather ally with them. Which then brings me to a really cool moment where we are just one-shotting enemies because Dottore has given us some of his power. And I had a lot of fun with that. I would have signed up with Dottore if that's all I need to do. I would be farming up enemies so quickly. So yeah, there were a few dialogues that Dottore was mentioning that I really agreed with, but then also he would contradict himself. Like, he would talk about, we cannot achieve true equality unless the gods play by their own rules. Why follow the rules if the gods won't follow them? But the way he talks, he only wants himself to be above the rules. Everyone else will need to follow his rules? It's a little bit of a weird situation. I didn't agree with that part. Also, isn't it weird that the Shades of Heavenly Principles haven't intervened yet? I understand that Asmodee is missing, the Heavenly Principle hasn't even awakened yet, but they specifically said in the Gods Limit teaser that they would intervene at some point. And if Dottore reaching godhood doesn't really seem like a time to intervene, I'm real curious. When is a good time to intervene? Anyway, there were also a few other things that I wanted to point out during this incredible Act 7 quest. We got to meet Iluga, which I'm assuming is the new character after Columbina. I still haven't seen any of the special version trailers yet, so aside from him being Geo, I'm unsure how he plays, but I like his design, so I'm looking forward to hearing more about him. There was also a very cool moment where Nefer dove into the Traveler's memories, and we get this horrifying thing where Dottore sees her and is about to kill her, and then until Nicole just pulls Nefer out. It was an insane moment of just how powerful Dottore is. We also get to see Child again delivering a message from the Tsaritsa that Sandrone and Arlecchino have the approval to eliminate Dottore. I've really found it funny that Child was like also hoping to fight Arlecchino after noticing that she got so much stronger, which is just, it's very funny. And I'm sure, look, I might have missed so many other amazing moments from Act 7, but huge thank you to the Patreon, Twitch, YouTube members for supporting the channel, and for those gifting memberships to the community. I appreciate it. By the time I have uploaded this video, I should already be playing through the Nodcry World Quests on my own. And a big old thank you to Regency from the community for creating a really helpful guide on the quest that I should be tackling next for the World Quest. So don't worry, I will be making videos about my experience playing those in the similar way I did for Natlan. So we'll cover it for sure. Also, let me know if y'all like the floating head. I kind of like the floating head because, ooh, AI, can you do this? Can you do this, AI? Oh, I bet you can. I bet you can. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching and coming back next time for Act 8, where I'm sure nothing crazy is going to happen. It's just going to be a totally normal act where we aren't just freaking out by what happened. Bye!